Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this call. It is the 2nd of July, 2024, and this call is called UX Challenges Building a Lightning Wallet. I would like to compliment Matt because this was his idea. Him and Pablo had a very nice back and forth conversation in the Bitcoin Design Community channel, and this idea came pretty much from that. So yeah, it's basically a call to discuss challenges that you as builders have faced building a Lightning wallet. Matt, I'll hand it over to you just to maybe elaborate a little bit more because this is this was your idea. So yeah, I just thought I'd hand it over to you as well.
Yeah, sure. That sounds great. Just a little background on me. I'm just an iOS engineer by trade, but I work on Bitcoin Dev Kit, primarily on the Rust bindings, which that just gives iOS and Android developers a native library that they can make a Bitcoin wallet with. And I support the iOS app for that too. Long time interest in the Bitcoin design community. I work on also a project on the side called Bitcoin UI, and that's essentially Bitcoin UI kit for Swift and iOS developers. So thanks to Christoph for starting that way back in the day. I think I made my first commit on it in like late 2020, so it's been around for a while. Really valuable resource, and then also been interested in Lightning as well. My recent work just on the side is an iOS Lightning app called Monday, and that's based on LDK node and Bitcoin UI. So I'm pumped to be here. I'm excited to hear everyone's feedback on just things that we bring up here, and yeah, hopefully get some good information for myself. But yeah, I think this conversation kind of started in the Bitcoin Design Lightning channel where Christoph posted just one of my recent blogs at the time. Just I was iterating on that Lightning wallet, and then Pablo, yeah, chimed in, and we kind of got going from there because working on Lightning is awesome, and like it works great and feels super magical when it works. But it's definitely also like very complex to work on, and yeah, Pablo shared some of the things that he was running into troubles with, some things that I had already run into on my own working on Monday, and then I'm sure a lot of stuff that I've never even run into. So yeah, I think that's how this call got started, and thanks to Mo for getting this going.
Yeah, so yeah, we're taking some notes in here. It's super nice that we have Matthew here, Pablo. Daniel's also a builder. I don't know if you want to do a quick introduction as well, Daniel.
Yeah, it might be worth us doing that around the table. Yeah, like Matthew, I've been dabbling in building wallets. I come from the Bitcoin design community / guide team. So I've been, trying to figure out the UX of these things for a number of years, and I always feel it's it's easier to figure it out, or at least figure out what the issues are if you try to build stuff. So I was kind of keen to do that, and I started with just a Bitcoin, an on-chain wallet using BDK. This is all mobile, both a bit iOS and a bit of Flutter cross-platform. Started with BDK, waiting for LDK node to become available, and once it was, I jumped onto that and kind of tried to figure out the Lightning side. So I've sort of stumbled across various things that we can talk about later. Some of them I've figured out, some of them I've not. And it feels like we're kind of always building on the kind of cutting edge, sort of almost waiting for the next branch of LDK node every time to kind of like, oh, we can't do that yet. We have to wait. So yeah, this is really fun to meet other builders. And there is an open source repo called BDG Wallet, BDG standing for Bitcoin Design Guide. So it's based on the UI, on the kind of UI and UX for the daily spending wallet that we have in the guide. So that's sort of what I've been up to.
Pablo, would you like to say hi?
Yeah, so I'm Pablo. I'm from Mexico. I've been a product designer for 10 years, remote now. I've been in this Bitcoin space like for 2 years, working in the same company. It's called Portal to Bitcoin. We're trying to be like a bridgeless interoperability protocol of Bitcoin, trying to get Bitcoin liquidity to other cryptos in general, having access to it. Yeah, it's a fun. It's a word to describe working with Lightning. Frustrating can be another one, depending on the problem and the week and that context, I guess. Um, it's an interesting problem to solve. It really is. It's great to have this call here. I love what you all do in the Bitcoin design community. I've been using the Bitcoin design guide a lot.
Oh, then we should definitely speak as well. Sorry, you just dropped some information. That would be very nice to speak with you as well. Yeah.
Happy to.
And Hitomi, I saw you joining the introductions channel, like I think sometime last week, and you mentioned that you're also building something. If you feel comfortable with saying hi, feel free to say hi. We'd love to have you speak as well.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Um,
Hi.
I'm yeah, I'm Hitomi. I'm Japanese and I'm working at Nayuta. Nayuta is a Japanese company for Lightning, and we are working on a non-custodial wallet for several years, since 2019, and um, actually, public relation officer at Nayuta, but have I also have a very strong interest in designs because we struggle with getting the users, because it's very complex to explain what is Lightning, what is benefit for users on the app. So um, our explanation intends to be longer and longer because for beginners, Lightning Network is very difficult to understand. So we have to um, explanation longer in Japanese, also in English. So um, yeah, so want to learn how to explain in the app with icons or with images. I don't know, but just curious about designs as a communication tool for Lightning Wallet. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, I'm not a wallet builder. I'm just facilitating, bringing everyone together. So yeah, I mean, if you guys
Yeah.
want to open the discussion, Christoph, I don't know, or Yashraj, if you'd like to do an intro, but feel free as well. Yashraj just says hi. All good. There we go. Yeah, is there any one topic that any of you'd like to open it up with? I'm just free flowing it here. Is there any one larger bucket you'd like to open it up with?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
There's so many topics, so if someone definitely has one to start with, at least we can start with that. And I thought it was good that we just mentioned too. Like this is like non-custodial Lightning on mobile too, a lot of times, which just really ups the difficulty level. Matt Corallo had a great blog post about this a couple months ago, and he works on LDK. And so there's like liquidity is a tough problem. Just that non-async receives is a tough problem. Backups is a tough problem. Also just like privacy, whether that be payment routing or block fetching, is tough as well. So a lot of really tough problems. A lot of what he laid out though, LDK is currently working on solutions for that or already had solutions for that. So like, that's really good. Like, you know, they're explaining the problems, but also like at the same time have worked on or are already working on things to take care of that or make that better. And I thought like the point that was just made too was like it's a more complex protocol to work on. And then once you as the builder, developer, designer, product manager, get your head around it, figuring out how to explain it to users that could be on a spectrum of how much they understand or don't understand about it without overwhelming them with too much information, or not giving them enough information or control, is just really, I think that's a pretty tough balance to strike and figure out how to do. So I would think the design community would probably be my like go-to resource on like bugging you all to figure out like what you all have thought. I mean, I think I saw this the other day, just explaining like liquidity in your channels, like how do you show that to users? Or Christoph, I also saw you post something somewhat recently about like if someone's picking a Lightning service provider, an LSP, how do you quickly explain to them why one may be better than the other, or how one might do one thing better than the other, have lower fees but like worse privacy or something like that. So yeah, sorry, that was like a wide scope of all the interesting challenges on Lightning. And I'm happy for us to go any route we want to. So
Yeah, there's I guess most of the topics have already been discussed, and we can rehash them here, see what we were doing with them. But there's, I guess, one new that I think I can bring to the table, because the company I'm working for, it's on this position that it's trying to attract other crypto users to Bitcoin. So instead of just talking about beginners that, or no coiners, pre-coiners, or whatever, we have this thing where we're trying to attract people that already know how to use crypto, and whenever they cross into like non-custodial Lightning, they get frustrated a lot because of all these things that Lightning and Bitcoin needs to be really censorship resistant, all the things that matter to us that maybe doesn't matter that much to them. And when they get into Lightning and see all these things, like, for example, just having to type the amount in the invoice before receiving something, like small details like that, or having to think about the liquidity inbound and outbound on all of that, that maybe in the cryptos they tried before, they don't have to think about it. So they come not as beginners. They think they're crypto experts or crypto users that already know how to do it, and they come here, and that's quite a big difference that Bitcoin and Lightning has. So we're trying to tackle that in a different way, like trying to explain it in, at least in different language, assuming that our users are not completely beginners.
Pablo, what are some ways that you guys have like succeeded in explaining that, or like helping those users along, or some ways that like you're still trying to like get your hands around how to like do it properly, with people that are native to crypto but maybe nowhere to like Bitcoin that you're trying to onboard?
Yeah, so we're still like in private beta. So we have just a small amount of, it's not a significant amount of users just to arrive to a conclusion, but we're tending to trying to hide that as much as possible. I guess the way Phoenix does, which works for both like beginners and crypto people.
Are you guys using like a specific LSP, like your own LSP, or what does that look like for you all on the Lightning side?
We're using Voltage right now. We're gonna we aspire to have our own LSP. As Phoenix does, there's like some advantages of having your own LSP, especially for some particularities that we might get into later, that applies to us. We're at least right now directionally going to have just one node that all the users connect to, the way Phoenix does. So that simplifies things, even if it hurts in privacy and other aspects, I guess. But yeah, Voltage is what we use.
I was going to chime in earlier. You started rattling off the long list of issues that we all face when building, and I guess there are some of them that are actually there, even if we're building an on-chain wallet as well. So maybe they're not the ones we should tackle too much, but backup has always been a thing, or like storing the seed phrase and stuff. But the interesting ones when moving to Lightning as well, that you up the complexity even further, like needing to care about the state, of your node or your channels, and so both beginners and experienced people struggle a bit with that one. It's like, well, I backed up my seed phrase. everything's good. But as a builder of a mobile product, you also need to care about backing up the state, right? Because people lose their phone, people, accidentally delete stuff or erase things, and that's one that I haven't yet figured out. I mean, I had this I have a personal view around backing up seed phrases that I have a right to myself, where I think, for most people, it's better to have an encrypted cloud backup done automatically for them than have nothing, right? Not everyone will make that choice, but that's true also for just an on-chain wallet. So like the new thing for me is this state handling thing, which I also am not yet sure how much data that is going to be. Could I use some kind of similar method, or does this absolutely need a different approach, right? And I know that there are some projects developing within Spiral or in that sphere, right? This is called VLS or something like that. So I was wondering if the others of you have kind of landed on an approach for kind of automatically backing up state or something like that.
What we're doing right now, which is we are exactly in that phase. We're like trying to solve that. The current attempt at doing that is we're taking cues from Mutiny. Mutiny has this. They do a file, encrypt it, and send it to a server of their own. The ideal thing would be, and then they have that server open source. So the ideal thing would be maybe create a separate endpoint that maybe even Mutiny users could use. You're trusting a server, so that's an issue, I guess. But the first step of like trying to get an encrypted file first, I think that seems to be the right approach, at least directionally, and then uploading it to wherever. The simplest thing would be obviously a server that handles the whole thing. But the Bitcoin UI kit or the guide in general proposes to use their own cloud thing. I think that's a great idea. To bring your own cloud kind of thing to that.
When you said you're doing an encrypted file and that you're uploading, is the encryption key something that's unique to the user that they can or let me rephrase, is the encryption key something they need to remember, or is it something that sort of happens under the hood and that they can rely on kind of appearing even if they've lost their phone and install it again?
So I'm going to cross in the engineering side of things. This is what it gets. I kind of understand it, but I might be wrong in some certain details. So what I know about it is that they use the private key to encrypt something, and we can offer optional passphrase, not passphrase, password in general to encrypt it. Yeah, that's optional.
Thank you.
So
Maybe I'm straying too much into the technical detail here, but it's the
No, it's fine.
inevitability of being a builder as well. Like the UX that I've wanted to achieve, obviously, that is as close to as possible what people have been used to with other, app that handles money for them, where like it's okay if it gets deleted and they install it again, or it's they don't have to think about that much. It should just work.
Yeah,
That's where I want to get to. I'm not saying that it's possible, but it's sort of always what I'm striving for. What about you, Matthew? Have you thought about state backup and stuff?
I haven't got much past kind of like the same thing you're thinking about. I haven't arrived on any magical solution yet for myself. A lot of it too, just like is based on the implementation. Maybe you're, working on top of. So like for LDK node, like they're at the bleeding edge of a lot of stuff. And I also kind of wait on them to implement stuff so that I'm not just figuring out how to do it myself and like concocting like a very custom way to do it when I know it's like on their roadmap at some point. So yeah, they've got things going on VSS and with backups in that sort of way. So yeah, kind of like taking cues from the implementation on what I'm doing for the most part.
Yeah, there was a talk yesterday in the LN spec group. Tibast was talking about peer backup storage. There's a complete GitHub issue about it, so you can read it all. It's interesting. It's like everything in Lightning or Bitcoin, it will take weeks, maybe months to get it in. But it's some kind of Alice and Bob. They do backup for each other themselves. You're trusting your peer, but you're trusting a server somehow. They're talking about doing backups per channel or per peer. Sounds interesting, I guess. Sounds a little more decentralized than the regular thing.
Yeah, I think we all seem to agree that this is an issue that we have to deal with, and we don't have a clear-cut solution yet. So maybe we just have to put a pin in this one. And like Matthew says, I'm also kind of, when I know that something is on the roadmap for LDK node, I'm like, okay, that's good. Hopefully I won't have to worry about that in a couple of months or whatever, how long it takes. But like that's been true for some things already, and so yeah, I tend to put my focus somewhere else for a while if I know that people smarter than me are working on options here. So that's definitely one of them. State backup on top of recovery phrase backup.
Do you all know, or somebody knows, how much does a Lightning backup weight, like in megabytes or kilobytes or whatever?
I had the same question. I don't know yet because I haven't really tried to do one. Matthew, any idea?
Oh. To see if it's trivial.
My novice guess at the moment is that it's not in the megabytes for a kind of casual user. That is probably more in the kilobytes to tens of kilobytes. But yeah, that's just a guess.
So I guess more than the weight, the issue is that you need to be constantly updating it and constantly uploading it to whatever the backup.
Yeah, that's where I've been keeping an eye on this VSS thing as well, which I think is quite complicated engineering, but hopefully for us it will be easy to use. But it's supposed to be multi-device even, and also, basically not being able to be corrupted by several devices checking state and updating state at the same time for each user. So let's see what comes of that.
Okay, so ChatGPT says channel backups are quite small, less than 1 megabyte. For example, common SCB files for wallets like LND are reported to be around 30 to 40 kilobyte, though this can vary depending on the number of channels in the specific implementation. I'll take that with the usual grain of AI salt.
Exactly.
It's something.
Thanks, ChatGPT.
So one of the bigger buckets was sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
No, I was going to try and find another interesting topic, and maybe straying a bit more to the UX side, because backups, as I said, ideally I'd like that to just sort of work. So ideally there isn't that much UX, apart from perhaps when you're on board and when you kind of reinstall, maybe there's a need for informing the user what's going to happen and what is actually safeguarded. But I think that is solvable with good information design and stuff like that. So yeah, the other sort of UX problems is definitely, the next one is definitely liquidity, right? And not being able to receive, okay, I've installed the wallet, but if someone wants to send me Bitcoin on Lightning, how do I receive it without knowing everything there is to know about channels and inbound and outbound and all that stuff? And my attempt has been obviously to try and use some of these bleeding edge LDK node options with Lightning service providers. I think I also tried Voltage, and now it's becoming more standardized. So that's good. So I guess that's where I've been leaning to, because it's been the least work, and it's been offering the opportunity that a user that installs the app can immediately receive, which is, that is kind of table stakes in my mind for something that's supposed to be more or less mainstream, right? You need to be able to receive without at least paying money. Of course, there's a fee, and it's a lot of information to take in, both when you're generating, like you said, Pablo, earlier, the correct invoice or whatever you need to do. But that's my next big bucket kind of thing, right? That you need to solve.
Yeah, one of the issues there is that if you're receiving without having anything, then the LSP is taking the heavy lifting. The invoice that you're generating, it's not from your client, I guess. You're requesting it from some server. It's a rapid invoice somehow. Is the LSP the one that's receiving it, and then you're getting it? And that's on top of fees. And if there's a high fee environment, it kind of breaks the whole thing because the user might not want to pay the whole. So I don't know. That's something that has me worried about Lightning in the long term. But we might need to fix it somehow. Maybe Arc works, maybe not.
I have a not philosophical, more of a top level approach kind of question here. So there's another team that I talked to about, and this is something that I see quite a lot. And Daniel, you kind of mentioned it a little bit too. There's kind of this intense desire to make this like Venmo or Cash App or something. It's like it has to be like that, and people cannot know about anything. Everything has to disappear, right? It just has to be like that. But I'm wondering if that's not really serving us very well. Like we just try to hide everything. People are not stupid, right? I mean, you have like people play all kinds of super complex video games, figure out all kinds of crazy stuff. If you look at Minecraft or other types of things, right? People can figure it out. We just need to kind of explain it kind of well. So like for example, BitKit, they basically sell, well, you have your spending and your savings, and you can just say, well, cool. How do you want to split it up? You receive some, and then you say, okay, I'm going to put that in this other bucket, and that other bucket functions a little bit differently, and occasionally I'm going to balance it. And they just kind of explain it. It's still kind of easy to understand, right? But they kind of embrace the differences a little bit instead of trying to like hide it as much as possible. And then people run into these unexpected, scenarios where they're like, oh, what the hell? All of a sudden I need to deal with liquidity. It was never mentioned before, right? But you just kind of embrace it a little bit and tell people like, it's going to work a little bit differently, and we're going to take you and we're going to give you the right framework and help you through those situations. So, I mean, what do you think about this idea of just like trying to force like the Cash App versus embracing Lightning a little bit more, bringing it a little bit more to the surface, not in a technical way, more in a way where it fits like my daily use case or my general understanding of finance or so, if that makes any sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I think like for me, I think when Daniel or anyone talks about making it like Cash App or Venmo or something, or how I try to make it, it's you want people to like feel like they know how to use it and not have friction at every step possible. So like ideally when I'm like building my Lightning app, I'm like hoping to not have any text explaining anything to them. And it's kind of like just like when you play Mario or some video game like that, like you just get dropped in and feel like you kind of figure it out along the way. And obviously you try to make your user safe. But that would be like a far end of the spectrum, right? Like I'm sure a lot of people might disagree with me on that portion, but I don't know. I feel like maybe users, myself included, get overwhelmed with like too much text, and I'll just like stop using an app if I have to go through a couple paragraphs of text to like start it. It doesn't make me want to like keep using the app at that point. And I think, Christoph, to your point too, like we want to like lean into Lightning, and self-custodial is just different, and kind of like embrace that because it's actually a lot better. but there is some sort of like user education along the way that needs to happen, whether it be in the app or out of band on like their own time. So I think that's sort of like the tough balance to strike there, is to make it easy and intuitive in a paradigm that to some people, self-custody or something like that might not exactly be intuitive to them. And I do find sometimes like even checking and savings account and a lot of these metaphors we use, they're sort of helpful, but then they can also like work against a user when they run into problems if they do think it works exactly like a checking account or a savings account. And they can't figure their own way out of it because they have a certain metaphor stuck in their head of how it's supposed to work. So Christoph, I see you're like showing BitKit right now, so I can kind of hand it back to you. But
Oh yeah, I just wanted to give a visual to what that looks like. It's just not a lot of text, and you just kind of say, how much do you want to have in there? And I think it's a good one to test for yourself to see how they manage it. Sometimes it still feels like a little bit too complicated, but I think overall they embrace it a bit more rather than trying to hide it altogether. So it's kind of a unique approach that I'm not sure many other wallets take.
Yeah. We've talked about that internally a lot. Whenever I present it to somebody, they get kind of confused, even if they know Lightning and L1, because they don't know how much are they spending. So it's hard to decide from the get-go, I guess. Yeah. Maybe it's just a first-time issue.
But I think that's the same if you think about your personal bank accounts, right? I don't know how much I spend every month and how much I need to move between accounts. And it kind of differs, right? If you keep your personal budget or so. Personal finance is just not, it's just what it is, right?
I do think that...
Yashraj wanted to speak.
Yeah, I was just about to say as well. Or was that a mistake, Yashraj?
No. This one was not a mistake. The first GIF in the chat, that was a mistake. This one was not a mistake. I just wanted to I was looking at the screenshot that Christoph shared, and I think I typically agree with what he said. I like to take that approach, don't try to dumb it down too much and stuff. But in this example, my problem is the wallet presents me with this screen and it says balance your funds and all of that. And my question as a user is, why do I have to do that? I didn't say I wanted to do that. Why am I having to make that choice?
Oh yeah, you have to consider this is in the middle of an experience. This is not the beginning, right? Okay. There are many screens you go through to actually get to this point. Mm-hmm. So you have to make sure that spending and savings is explained properly before you get to this point.
Pablo, you're muted. Oh.
Yeah, you're activating instant funds, right, Christoph? That's what they call Lightning, I guess. There's whenever you enter, it's just an L1, and then there's a prompt to get into instant funds, which is Lightning for them. I think they're doing a novel approach. I'd like to see how it works.
Let me share another screen here. I just need to send it over real quick.
Yeah, I think it's always worth trying to, I applaud people that try to, take a new approach to things and do it their way instead of just doing what everyone else does. That's great. That's what we need to learn. And, on your earlier point, Christoph, why should we try to do, Venmo, Cash App like things when they are actually done quite well in the sort of centralized world? I agree that that's a wise approach, but I also kind of think that, well, it's because we failed to do it the other way, right? That's why I keep trying. We have to push the tech as far as possible to the ideal state. And then, maybe sometimes we have to accept that, okay, well, this is not quite suited to that. But, I think it's good to know where it sort of breaks. And custodial Lightning seems to work, exceptionally well. So maybe trying to compete with those experiences with non-custodial is not not the right idea. But technically, I think it's a good idea because it pushes everybody to understand where the breaking points are.
You know, like the utopian goal that gets us closer. I agree with you, Daniel. Like trying to focus on that, accepting that maybe not possible. We are
This is
fighting the
from
idea.
BitKey, Christoph, these screens.
Sorry?
These are from BitKey.
BitKit.
BitKit.
Yeah. John
And,
Carvalho.
and Christoph has 5,000 Bitcoin apparently in that wallet. Just joking. I know they format it differently. Just joking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. How they are formatting Sats into Bitcoin.
Yeah, I know you all had a discussion with them maybe a month or two ago. Do you all have any different thoughts, similar thoughts, concrete thoughts on after talking about it with them, maybe using it, how you like that approach of showing the format of Bitcoin in their wallet?
I haven't moved much further on that myself. I haven't really been exposed to the. I've had bigger problems, unfortunately. So yeah, I haven't really moved position. I do still, for myself personally, if I see the Bitcoin B, I think that's Bitcoin. So the number, I associate that with Bitcoin. I would have to get more used to a particular product to kind of understand that they do it differently to really get it, I guess.
I'm just too close to it to have any sort of useful opinion that would be, reflect any larger group.
I like it. I haven't thought about it maybe that much, but I think there will be a moment where Bitcoin is so high in value that talking in Bitcoin would be really weird.
It depends on which currency of the world you're in. In some countries, it's already one Bitcoin's already like 600 million Iranian,
Yeah.
whatever they made. I forgot what their currency is right now.
True.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like I don't know, maybe more optimistic kind of just generally about things, but I look out into Lightning in the next like even year or two, and I see it's just like a better experience than like Venmo or something like that for me. Like they've already solved a lot of problems, at least like all the implementations, and then like there's a lot of problems being solved like currently and then short term in the future. So like Bolt 12 is being worked on right now, and like that's a really great experience for a user. They have to think about less things, and it like kind of just works for them. Like they just have an offer that multiple people can scan and pay them. There's also like async payments that's gonna like be a lot better. That's like around the corner for users. Like the LSP spec is going to be really good for like not only just like having an LSP that like works, but also having like multiple in an app possibly. Or if one LSP gets shut down, like you have other options that you're not directly tied to like one LSP. So like I look out into the future of like short-term Lightning, and like I think it does like solve like a lot of the current issues that stand right now with it. And for me, as like someone that uses it every day right now, like it already works really great for me right now. So like, I go into like Bitcoin Park or something in Nashville and like buy a drink for $1. Like Lightning works great for me doing that every day. Or if I want to send like a zap to someone on Primal, like I'll load up like $5 in Primal, like send some really low value like that, and it just works for me a lot. There's definitely like times where it doesn't work, where like payment reliability isn't 100% right now. And that's just like a tough problem from the ground floor that like, as much as I could explain it to a user, it's still not going to like be a great clear explanation, and still going to be like a frustrating thing that happens. But I think like all of the implementations kind of like know about these problems and are like actively working on them right now. So that makes me feel like really good about like where we're headed, like even really short term in like the next year or two right now. So yeah, just wanted to say that. And I think we can like outcompete like Venmo like in the next year or two with Lightning in a lot of use cases. I know it doesn't solve everything. Like we know Lightning doesn't solve everything, but self-custodial and just being able to like pay and receive anyone at any time, like that's a great payment experience. And I think to like Daniel's point, like we want to push on that as much as possible to see like how right we can get it for, you know, something like self-custodial mobile.
Awesome. I wanted to hop in on the Bolt 12 point because another team I spoke with, they're like, we don't want to release the app until we have Bolt 12. We can just show like one QR code on the receive screen. We don't want anything else, right? Because right now you have this huge mess of, you can just show like 10 different payment request types or formats, and they all function a little bit differently.
Yeah, I'm
And
literally
that's kinda
showing
nice,
5 payment types right now in my app. So yeah, it's like,
yeah.
but that,
So-
I'm like doing that like in a specific way for myself right now to like make it tough on myself. But yeah, it's not that, just as an example for what you're saying right now, Chris.
So do you think Bolt 12 is like guaranteed to happen? Everyone loves it. It just takes time. Do we have a chicken and egg problem? Do we need some type of, there's bolt12.org that Stephen worked on, and I think his friend Brandon quite a lot. Like, how do we get that to be usable in all wallets? Because if we don't have interoperability and that as a standard, then it's going to be a nasty UX for a long time.
Yeah, and I'll say like right now, like I've gotten Bolt 12 working on Signet, like in the past couple weeks, like on top of LDK node, because they just merged that into the main branch there. So like I see it working like in front of my own eyes, like on an app that I'm building, which is great. And I think most of the implementations like have it already or are going to have it. And I know there's LNDK, that's like a daemon you can run besides LND, so that you can like interoperate with that sort of stuff. I think that's like a larger question too on just if one implementation doesn't have it, then it makes it a little bit more difficult and tough for the network. But yeah, I just wanted to say at least right now, like it works like really great for me on Signet. Anyways.
Oh, it's awesome that it's finally kind of there. We've been hearing on it around about it for a while, and it's finally here, kind of. But Christoph's point is super important, I think, because it took me a while to realize that, to use it, I actually need everybody else to kind of use it, right? Especially if I want to default to it or even just support it, right? So it's still kind of a long way away from the point where like, Bolt 12 rules everything. So I wonder, it's a separate topic, but maybe we all need to figure out some kind of campaign, or you just get everybody really fired up about supporting it sooner rather than later. And yeah, coordination is extremely difficult and unpopular in parts of this world, but for the user, it's a clear benefit. And yeah, we just need to kind of push along the developers and all the products that people actually use. So I think that's probably worth doing, because this is a big win.
I've been thinking about a way to kind of get into consensus with a lot of implementation time, and maybe we will just publish some way of, whenever you're scanning something, your wallet might not support it yet, but it might be trivial to react as you do not support this. You need to do X to switch the recipient to another like QR code. And if we were to get to consensus of how to design-wise do this QR switcher or protocol switcher or whatever, and all wallets would say, we don't support this, you tap on this icon or do this thing and just switch to these other ones. And if we were to agree, which might be the difficult thing, how to fail to scan QR codes, we might get closer, maybe. It's simpler to build something that reacts as, would you can do this, than react to and then complete the transaction or something like that. might be difficult in its own sake, but yeah, just an open thought.
Hitomi, I'm not sure if I pronounced your name correctly. Forgive me if it's not correctly, but earlier on when we just kicked off, you shared a question around how to communicate Lightning to users. Would you like to maybe share a little bit more about that?
Sure. Not we have, okay. So our current version of Nayutaboret, called Nayutaboret, has three languages: English, Japanese, and Spanish. The translation is also very difficult because, for example, English is easier to explain simply, but in Japanese, is intend to be longer than English. Also, Spanish has like comma, um, having a number, like dimension, I think, 1.0, one. I forgot that, but so the explanation of numbers also different uh, around the world. So we have the setting for setting the numbers in your country. Like Japanese, one in Japan, 100.5 is correct, but 100, like, how do I say, like this,
Comma?
is not correct. Like this. Can you imagine? So it's also different. We struggle with that example, and also, like, I think beginners are two patterns. One is uh, beginners for cryptocurrency itself. So they are used to be using traditional fintech apps like Cash App and also Venmo. But how do I say? In Japan, we cannot use Cash App, so we can't see the screen in Cash App. So it's not um, it's not similar to Cash App or similar uh, Bitcoin apps, mimicking Cash App or traditional apps. But in Japan, it's completely different to surface on the app as well. So I have an opinion. There is, we should think the difference between countries as well. So first phase is explanation of Lightning is very difficult to. The second phase is the differences between countries to explain how to explain with sentences or icons or also images. So it's very difficult for us. And also, there are a lot of lists in Google Docs for now. So I almost agree with these notes issues. Yeah, I'm familiar with these programs in our apps to yeah, develop our app, also use another apps. Can you understand me? Um, Sorry, my English is like poor, but I strongly have interest in communicating the users and also um, Lightning or Bitcoin. Um,
All very good. We understand you
um,
perfectly.
Totally understandable.
thank
Oh
you.
yeah.
And also
Yes.
the different countries situation is very interesting. And I think Japan is especially interesting because the little I know of it, having not that much exposure, but some exposure designing apps for it, like people actually want more information often, right? Than in Western countries.
Mm.
They expect that to kind of build up the trust. And yeah, it's a big challenge, obviously, that you face that in many other countries it's tried, we try to kind of sweep it under the carpet or like, put it somewhere in the back of the app. Like if someone's looking for it, they can find it, but it's not up front.
Mhm. Yeah, um, in my mind, I have a strong interest in communication with users, especially in our apps, but also in general, your apps or also uh, another other wallets for which developers or designers are developing for now. So I want to learn about designs and UX challenges as well. Oh, okay. Where where can where where can I learn about UX designs on YouTube or your docs in this community? I I found some information in your website. Is that correct? Uh, I mean, like the current discussion, ongoing discussion for now. How to find
Yeah.
your information?
So the easiest way is to just ask in Discord and say like, this is something I'm
Okay.
working on. Can you help
Uh-huh.
me? Can you point me? Because there's a lot of
Thank
information, there are
you.
a lot of conversations, and you are more than welcome to read through everything. Right? The Bitcoin Design Guide is a great spot.
Mhm, mhm.
A link that I shared in the chat here for the units and symbols page, that is something very specific to formatting numbers across different countries with different standards. And then for other
Oh,
topics, we
yeah.
might have very different pages. But there are just like there are 60, 70 pages or so in the Bitcoin Design Guide. There are other resources. So if you don't feel like looking through everything, you're also welcome to just ask a question.
Okay,
That
thanks.
might be more direct there.
Mhm.
You can also try, and that's something that we'd love to get feedback on as well, is try to search for whatever you're looking for in the Bitcoin Design Guide. And if you don't find it, then just ask in the community, because maybe it's not there as content, or maybe it is there, but it's just worded differently.
Sorry, restarting the recording real quick because it automatically shuts off. Yeah, the language thing is very interesting. We Mo and I spoke with someone last week from the Human Rights Foundation that trains activists in different countries, and she said, well, if they speak, Russian or I don't know what they speak in Iran or so, and they're just not going to know English. If your app is just not in their language, they can't use it and they don't trust it. It's as easy as that. It's not a technical thing. Language can also be a big thing that opens the door for more adoption.
So, Wallet of Satoshi has many icons, I think. So, icons don't have any languages, so it's very useful, I think. And also, Word of Satoshi has simple words like Bitcoin. Uh, I forgot blah blah blah. No sentences, no complicated explanation. But it's custodial. It's I think it's easier to explain in custodial wallet, but in non-custodial wallet, it's so difficult to how to explain capacity, how to explain RSP, how to explain backups like this. So my mind is like this every day. So
Matthew made a very good
yeah.
point. Something that we see more and
Mm,
more is very like onboarding flows with just paragraphs and paragraphs of text, just because
mm,
we're trying to explain so much. So that's a very good point from Matthew as well. All those bullet points explaining liquidity to users and backup and all the rest.
But I
Yeah.
think we have good frameworks and we have a lot of references. I feel like we have all the tools. It's just about beautifully aligning them and putting them in the right order and sequence and
Mhm.
highlighting them at the right time. I feel like we have everything we need. But
We do.
it's like a craft, right? That takes a lot of detailed work in order to make it right. And he told me, to your point about icons, icons are good, but there's also a limit to there. There are very few icons that are universally understood. That
mhm,
like a trash can, pretty much everyone understands. For some reason, like the old school save icon, a lot of people still understand. But if you get something like channel capacity, there's no icon for that,
mhm.
right? It's like
Yeah.
so there's a limit
Mhm.
to the amount of concepts that you can effectively communicate.
Uh-huh.
It's
This
also
is,
go on.
go ahead.
No, no, no.
Sorry.
Please continue. You go ahead.
Thank you. This is my favorite story with my Bitcoin friends. She knows Bitcoin, but she doesn't know a lot of Lightning.
Mhm.
And she saw Wallet of Satoshi and what is like Lightning icons. Do you understand? So Bitcoin icons in Wallet of Satoshi, she understood. But Lightning, it's what is this Lightning? Like this. So, oh my gosh, she didn't understand even Wallet of Satoshi. So after that, I explained her about Lightning and Bitcoin and capacity, and also introduced a non-custodial wallet. Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, what else? I was just going to make a quick point about that. Users are using other applications as well, where those applications are also teaching them psychologically what those icons mean. So it's the icons have their limitation in terms of communicating as well. They're not the end all. The words are very necessary, and as Christoph said, we have all of the building blocks. It's just a matter of tucking them in and layering them so that not too much is revealed um, in the beginning, which scares a lot of people off. So yeah.
We're at the hour.
Yes.
Does anyone have any urgent things we can talk? We can talk much longer too, if you'd like. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to chat about? I think for me, one last interesting question would be the last mile problem. Can we ever solve the 50 SATs use cases, people in low income countries, that type of stuff? But it's not something we have to talk about. If someone else has something they'd like to chat about, feel free to.
I have to hop off, so I'll leave you all to chat. I have a call with Yashraj actually straight after this. So Yashraj, I'll see you on the other call and I'll leave you to chat. But thank you everyone so much for joining and Christoph for recording.
Bye, Mo.
Bye.
Thanks, Mo.
Bye.
Yeah, it would be
What's the
interesting. Oh, go ahead.
what's the problem what's the last night problem? I haven't heard of it.
Well, okay, let's say you're in a low income country, you make $2,000 equivalent per year, which is what's 2,000 divided by 12? That's $166 per month is your income. And then let's say you need to like open up a lightning channel and it costs like $5. That's a huge part of your income, right? And occasionally with lightning you might need to be able to do that, but it's like like, can it economically, I mean, there's the argument that, well, LSPs can batch channels and we can open up or splice whatever 50 channels for $2 or whatever it is, right? There might be some possibilities, but do you feel like that's realistic, that Lightning can serve people with very little income, even as, let's say, fees go up? Or is that where Ecash just has to come in?
Yeah, I guess it can happen when the fees goes, even to us, when the fees goes really high. And it's something that I guess is going to happen. Channel factories. One part of our team are trying to implement a simple one. They got it working already on testnet, I guess, or Signet, I'm not sure. They're going to publish that maybe in a couple of weeks. That might help with opening them, closing them. I don't know how that works. I don't know if you need to close them in batch or whatever, but that may help.
Yeah, this is a problem that I came upon when I finally had assembled all the technical pieces to get the non-custodial wallet up and running. I thought, okay, great, I'm done now. And then I was like, all right, okay, I need a channel, and like, okay, well, let's do the kind of just-in-time LSP solution, meaning I don't have to pay until someone sends me money. But then as soon as you see the fee and you feel it, it's like, even for me in my situation, it's like, ooh, that's more than I thought. And I think opening a channel is one thing, but we have to also assume that the first channel we open is never going to be perfect, right? It's never going to solve all our use cases. So we're going to keep kind of having to touch on chain to adjust. I mean, these days you can't adjust it much, but splicing and all these kind of fancy things, everything will touch on-chain in some way and incur fees. So even if there are technical solutions, I think the fact that it's tied to on-chain activity in any form and therefore, exposed to whatever fee situation and Bitcoin price we have there, I think it's a severe hurdle that we may never overcome to serve these low income, low value situations. Unfortunately, that's maybe where I've landed for now. And again, that's where like, okay, maybe non-custodial has to sort of take a step back there. Maybe custodial Lightning is perfect for that situation, right? But yeah, that's my current reading. And I haven't come across much sort of technically that it makes me think that, oh yeah, this will be fixed.
And I think currently too, like just because we have limited block space, there's like not everyone in the world could use Lightning even if the fees weren't a problem for them, right? Like we couldn't onboard everyone into Lightning right now, even if they made, $100,000 a year or something like that, just because we only have limited block space. So there's definitely going to be other solutions like Ecash that we need to like definitely push as far as possible. And I'm glad to see folks doing that right now. There could be research breakthroughs, things people are talking about now, or possible soft forks in the future that make this more doable. We can onboard more people. But yeah, I mean, as an optimist on Lightning, like I know we can't just like onboard everyone right now, just regardless.
The current UTXO set is 186 million. It has to increase by 43 times to get to 8 billion. So let's make that happen. One UTXO for everyone.
That's a lot.
So, but the other thing that I was thinking about this is like maybe people are okay if we just tell them like, if you start the wallet and like, it says like, receiving Bitcoin right now will cost you about this much. If you wait a little bit, it's going to be cheaper. And then, enable notifications and kind of checks in the background. Or it says, well, you can only receive 100 more sats if you receive more. We need to do this. It's kind of expensive right now. Remind me tomorrow or so. Maybe there are just like simple ways to work around this where again, we're not trying to completely hide it and just say, well, nothing we can do, here's Ecash, but we just give people like tips and help them use it correct in the right way, because we say self-custody is just so important, right? We need people to really do this, and we want to give them all the support that we can. So I don't know, that's another option there.
I think that that's the issue, that many people don't even think about self-custodial stuff. Like most of the world don't even care about that yet, until they do, but they don't really care about it. They will compare us to Wallet of Satoshi for now, and will prefer Wallet of Satoshi for now until they care about it.
Yeah. And then they're the people who have to care about it, the people who don't have access to other financial systems or so, and they have to. They're forced to.
Minimal amount, yeah.
Well, the poor people in the United States who cannot access Phoenix,
Yeah.
excluded from the financial system.
There's this mutiny thing that let's say they're playing along with it, and I really like it, which is Ecash to Lightning. So you have Ecash until it makes sense to open a channel. It's a cute little idea that they're playing around with.
So what's kind of good follow-up stuff from this call? I mean, we had a long list of individual things. It'd be kind of cool to list them somewhere and maybe list resources on examples or how to address them, or have more conversations or so. What would you like to see?
I don't know. I'd be happy to just post, like I'll post some of my thoughts or like problem solutions in Discord as like a follow-up, just in case anyone wants to chime in on those too. We've discussed them a lot already, but you know, we had an hour, which seems like a long time, but yeah, it feels like you're just scratching the surface of a lot of these topics. And then I'll continue to maybe try to, post in a Lightning Discord channel too about these things that I come across, because it's super helpful when someone like Pablo trying to do this thing at scale has like runs into some similar things as me, but like a whole different set of, you know, things that he has to worry about and think about. And the same with Hitomi. So like, I'd love just hearing other people's stories, even if they haven't cracked, you know, the code on things, about just like what they're running into and potential things for me to think about, or as a builder, like experiment with, or start working on or testing out. So like, I love hearing from all you like on this call and in the Discord channel. So I would just like encourage you to keep up, at least just for my sake, because like I love hearing all this sort of stuff and chatting about it and like thinking through these problems. And thanks to the Bitcoin design community too, because you all have done like so much already and really like explored a lot of these topics already, even if there's not something like finalized yet. Like I see you guys kind of like at the bleeding edge of these things, trying to figure it out as the developers are trying to figure it out too, and trying to get ahead of things so that if it takes 2 years to do a protocol thing, it's not another 2 years to figure out what that looks like for a user in an app. So thanks for all you all do.
Yeah, I see two things that I could personally find valuable. One is kind of gathering this list of problems that the builder will run into, whether they're solved or not. And you know, the design guide may not be the perfect place for it because it's mostly around the UX and stuff, but we do have you know, several reference designs where we just basically say, oh yeah, you'll solve it by doing this, you know. And so I think maybe this could be a companion to that, where like we don't go all the way down into the technical detail, but we acknowledge like, yes, this is a technical problem. Here are a couple of ways some people have tried to do it. You know, maybe this is now crystallizing as the way forward. You know, and sort of have a long list, and hopefully eventually over time we'll kind of have somewhere for each of them to point. Yeah, this is how we solve this one. This is kind of best practice today. That's one thing I think would be interesting, and I'm happy to kind of try and work that into the guide over time. And the second thing was around Ball 12, I think, which I think I liked your idea, Pablo, about, kind of designing the transition, or, designing the fallback case where we want the state to be that all wallets, all products support Vault 12, but some won't and some will for a period of time. And maybe we can help by sort of already now designing or suggesting how these products should handle the intermediate state. That's the thing I think could be really useful.
Well,
I guess you all proposed. I don't know. I don't have anything extra to propose, but I'm really thankful for that. Is the Bitcoin design guide in general. I read it a lot. I go back and I share it a lot. That's been really helpful.
awesome. Super cool to hear. All right, let's make it happen in Discord, I guess. And ideally, at some point the next month, we can have another call. Someone brings up an issue and someone just posts a Bitcoin design guide link with the perfect answer, and it'll be solved. There we go.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, and thanks for your building and your writing and chatting in Discord. It's what's needed to figure out what people are having trouble with and what we can solve before too many others run into the same problem.
Yeah, and we've been talking about these problems, I guess, for some weeks, some months, and we haven't gotten to like specific like solutions, and we might not for a while. But whenever somebody finds something, just post it in Discord and let's just all share it. We're close to launching to a bunch of users, and I'm pretty sure some stuff will break, and I'm pretty sure something interesting will be appearing there. I'm open to share everything about it.
Can you share a link real quick?
Yeah,
Or is it already in the notes?
it's not.
Cool, thank you.
That's it. It's not downloadable yet, but we've been launching the past week, the week before that, and we're just writing in it. I want to post it in Discord.
Exciting time.
And I think I saw too that you all had a name change from like Portal to DeFi to now Portal to Bitcoin. And I love that. So good job on that.
Yeah, it seems like there's a bunch of people in our cryptos that are coming here and don't know how to get access to Bitcoin in general. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
I'm going to stop the recording here.